It's not too late to get into learning how to use these tools. And the excuse of I don't know how does not exist, because even if you do not know how, you go and you tell the AI tool of your choice, I don't know how to do this. Walk me through step by step. I'm stuck. Take a screenshot. Tell it where you're at. And you don't have to be embarrassed. This isn't like having a friend look at you and be like, I don't know how to silence my iPhone, and you feel like an idiot. The AI is not going to judge you.
Welcome to the On-Site Podcast. We chat with contractors, educators, industry professionals about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's fucking get into it.
All right, welcome back to the On-Site Podcast, episode 57. And today we have a special guest. Tobias is with Handshake. And Tobias is the founder of this technology, which I'm sure you're familiar with. You've heard a lot about it. And I'm excited to dig into this with him. But it's an AI voice response agent, so to speak. So somebody that picks up the phone for your business so you don't miss opportunities. Tobias, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to chat.
Awesome, man. So to dig into it, let's just kick it off and tell everyone where you're from, what you do, and we'll go from there. Cool.
So I'm from Kitchener-Waterloo region. I'm actually out of Ayr, Ontario, if anyone knows where that is on a map. I did University of Waterloo in the region and then kind of hung around in the space here. Back in 2013, we flew out to a program called Y Combinator to start off my first venture. That was called Reeby. So we digitized retail circulars. We put them on a phone. An awesome product for anyone who wanted to save money. So it was a mobile app that basically aggregated all your retail circulars. So the same junk mail that you get in the mailbox. Yeah, so it kind of originated a fun story. My business partner at the time, he was on a co-op. And all the engineers would come in on a Wednesday or Thursday with these stacks of flyers, and they just burn company time deciding where they're going to get chicken for cheaper, right?
Oh, no.
Or like, it's kind of ludicrous that you have to go home to pick up a paper stack to decide which store you're going to go shopping in. Wouldn't it be great if you could just access, the internet exists, we have iPhones, if you could just search on your phone? And a product like that didn't exist. So we set out to build it. Fun story at YC, met some incredible people. Sam Altman, if anyone's heard that name.
Yeah, no way, really?
He was our first real investor.
Crazy dude.
Remember walking down the street with him and Paul Graham and just kind of talking about where the industry could go. That was a lot of fun. We grew that business over 10 years, and most of our customers were like enterprise, right? So you've got the big players. I'm sure if I want to name any names, but everyone,
like the big grocery stores, like
big grocery store,
Co-op,
not just grocery, home improvement,
Canadian Tire, that kind of stuff.
Tire, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, cool.
It was really interesting to figure out how to sell into enterprise, because you've got all the different levels of you can't just walk into Canadian Tire and be like, hey, can I sell you a software product or a marketing product? They're franchise, et cetera. So you need to find a strategy to get into head office, figure out who to talk to. And these deals take years to kind of nail down, right? The bigger they are, the more reluctant they are to have change, risk averse, all that good stuff. But we grew that company over 10 years to 7 or 8 million users in Canada, and then exited in 2022, I think. And we sold the company.
Tail end of COVID.
Yeah. Tail end of COVID. So that was a lot of fun, but I really enjoyed kind of being welcomed into the war room of organizations and understanding what products they're using, what's working, what's not working. And just coming from an engineering background, you see the vast inefficiency, right? It's just mind blowing, some of the systems that they use. And you ask, why are you doing it that way? And it's like, well, the last 6 people in this position did it this way. And we're afraid to change it because we don't know what's going to happen if we just don't.
And sometimes I think probably, and I haven't been in those rooms, but I can imagine that sometimes their excuses are almost like going to the gym, where it's like, I just couldn't go today. This was in the way, or this was, and then when you press them a little bit harder, but you probably could change that pretty easily. You could probably, implement XYZ. Well, yeah, but I personally think some of that, and I want you to continue with this, but I think that some of that is just people not knowing what the outcome will look like. And so they don't hold themselves to the accountability that I think they need to for that outcome. It's hard to predict the future. And they're like, well, I don't know if that'll actually work. And so then they're a little bit more apprehensive on actually doing it. So it's just a pile of excuses at the end of the day. I have my own excuses too, but we all do.
But what I really loved was working with the small players. So we were able to give small mom and pop shop, single location kind of businesses, the same platform that the enterprise players were using, right? So imagine a regular family opening up their phone and be like, we're going shopping. Now they get to choose between a enterprise customer of ours or mom and pop. And it was just eye-opening to see how fast the small guys are able to make decisions. You walk in, you meet the owner, and it's like, hey, we could just like refactor and do this and change the content, and it'll look better on your product. Let's go. And they were able to make decisions really quickly. So kind of when we phased out of that business, I felt this like pull to go and help smaller business. And I don't mean small in like, your lemonade stand. I don't want to belittle small businesses. There's small businesses that do like $5 to $10 million a year as well. But the structure where there's a decision maker who has a great team, and they're just willing to sub products and take chances and risks. And I really like that space. So that's kind of where we net out to what we're working on right now with Handshake. And I mean, you've kind of nailed down what we do in the current phase. We help small businesses kind of where they're struggling the most. And that is typically in answering the phone. Business owners wear way too many hats. You're running finance, you're doing marketing, you're human resources, you're dealing with happy or upset customers, you're, restocking the paper towels for the bathroom if on a weekend, right? When you're out on a job site and somebody calls you, you're not always available to pick up the phone. After hours, if you're out on a date night with your wife and you get a call, you're like kind of torn, right? You're like, the wife needs some one-on-one time, but also if I don't pick up the phone, I live and die by the landline here, cell phone. And if I don't pick up, my customers will. We've started off on that front where Julia, that's what we're calling kind of the product. She'll be able to pick up with your energy, your culture, your vibe, and just qualify the customer. Like, hey, how's it going? Like, oh, you want to drop off a check? Here's the address. You want to connect with this person? We do a transfer. So no calls ever missed. But what we're finding is as soon as we earn that trust, like if your business lives and dies by the phone, it's kind of the most intimate connection that you have, the first touch with a customer. It takes a lot of trust to say, hey, Handshake, put your AI between me and my customer, right? Your customer is how you earn. We're finding that people love the experience, and now that they're dependent on it, they want us to do a lot more. So Julia won't be just a voice agent. You can get a voice agent from anywhere. We're building it to be more of a full front-end suite where she'll be able to answer your lead emails. Imagine you're on a job site, somebody fills out the little, sexy little form on your website, and then they're left waiting. We've all been there where, you contact a trade, put your phone, your email, you give your information on their website, and it's like throwing a couple bucks into a wishing well, and you're like, will they respond back to me, right? Are they too busy?
Yeah.
They're out of business. What's the culture there? You have no idea. But imagine you equip AI to answer those emails as well immediately, where you get a message and you're like, hey, I'm looking for a bathroom rental, and Julia responds back and says, what's your timeline? How far along are you? Have you started it? Like, do you have a design in mind? Something just to kind of like scratch the itch, if you may, so that the person that's been sitting on their couch filling out these forms gets an immediate response, and now they're engaged with your brand, as opposed to going down the list on Google and reaching out to the next 10 people. So responding to emails is another kind of tool we're going to be equipping Julia with. Social media ads as well. A lot of people are running Meta and Google ads. But what good are they if those ads go unanswered? If somebody lands in your DM and then you forget to check that you've got an Instagram account and you haven't responded.
So full top of funnel, basically top of funnel capture is where Julia's ultimately heading, which is incredible. And I just had a thought while we were talking about this. I'm thinking about, because I work with so many different contractors, and I've had the privilege to share my offer with so many different people that have turned it down, and I just look at them and with massive confusion. I'm like, you're literally doomsday. It's inevitable. You won't take this small little minute offer. And so I'm thinking who are going to be the people that are going to take advantage of a product like this? Who's going to take advantage of somebody to answer the phone? And personally, no offense to you, the product by any means. I'm not offending the product. I'm saying I'm trying to categorize the contractor with the ego that is too big to understand the value of a tool like this. The low-lying contractor that's annoyed with answering his phone. I love when my phone rings about business. Yeah. It's when my phone rings about business, I'm like, what can we do today? I'm freaking stoked. Whereas the shitty contractor, he's annoyed. He's like, I don't have time to answer my phone. I'm busy doing whatever, pointless shit. Right. And then the really good contractor that has a bit of an ego, unfortunately. And there's so many of you out there that are listening right now. So many of you. It's a disease. there is a better way of doing everything, I promise you. And the biggest thing that I'm noticing is that there is a small group of people that are actually doing it, or there's a small group of people that are actually taking advantage of opportunities like this, products like this. Because what I want to see is the most advanced people use this product to make their business more efficient. And they're using it. There are a small group of people that are using it, but there's still a large bucket of people that are just not ready. They don't want to give, AI access to their clients because they feel like it will take them away from the opportunity. And they got this like obsession with trying to do everything. And I think that's really their biggest detriment. And I love that you're doing full top of funnel, because that is the bigger problem. Yes, answering the phone is one problem, right? But that same contractor can't answer his emails. He hasn't looked at his inbox in probably a couple of days. He's avoiding probably messages every day, or he's not following up with his leads in a strategy that actually converts and turns it into a booked appointment, because he just screws it all up and asks stupid questions and inconsistent with his response time. And so I love what you're doing. And I think that, anyone that is in a service industry that provides a service that has to answer a request for an execution, whether it's service or whatever, could seriously consider all of these products. I think it's a very important part of business that when we're using AI, like I was talking to somebody the other day, I just did a presentation inside the community about like people's backpacks, like when like you carry a backpack and inside your backpack is like, we've been talking about some other stuff as well. And I'm just grateful for the ability to talk to you because your backpack of knowledge is so valuable, right? And could you imagine if like a business had a backpack with all these tools and resources? They become more valuable. And so we were just talking about this the other day. It's like the businesses that wear the backpack and bring on these assets that make their backpack more valuable are going to destroy other companies. Like they're going to end the other companies because they won't be able to compete. This product is a great example of really giving your clients the front end communication that they need. And I love it. I'm stoked about this.
You've prompted me with a few comments, and I'll start off with the analogy. I like the concept of backpacks. But let's say we're going hiking. We don't both need to have every, the same backpack composition.
Yeah.
You don't need a kettle and I don't need a kettle.
Exactly.
Right? You're on coffee and I'll go bring like the axe, right? So that we can be a little bit more streamlined. We can get to the top, but we can still have like a comprehensive solution. So that's one of the challenges too. A lot of people see these tools out there and they're like, oh, I'll build it in-house, and they get to like a 20% demo, and then they don't have the infrastructure to keep updating it, keep making it better. And then that kind of knowledge just kind of dies with the individual, right?
I have a client right now actually kind of doing the same thing where he's like, doesn't necessarily like how one product is structured, even though it really like it's really beneficial. And then I don't know how to explain the speed of technology. It is the craziest roller coaster of life right now. Like it's the fastest moving locomotive. I've never seen it, and I've been like on top of this shit as much as I possibly can. But like, if you're going to build your own technology, how are you going to catch up to that train?
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to be able to keep up to that? Like all these other people they're also trying to build products. Like you're right now trying to build a product, and you're trying to, you're probably running a lot faster than that locomotive, or you're very, parallel with it. But like, anybody that's trying to self-perform their own software to solve an internal problem with their business, not using people that are running alongside technology, is just crazy. Your product's going to be obsolete before you even get it to the ground, or off the ground.
So the comment I like to make is like, if you can build a better voice agent than we can, I'll hire you because,
Yeah.
let's just keep doing more of those as opposed to trying to, have individuals do multiple things at once. The other thing is, often people look at these misconceptions. They think AI is like out there to take care of like take out jobs, right? And it's like, yeah, the menial ones might get replaced, but it's going to empower us to do so much more with our time, and it's going to create new jobs. So AI, what we're building, isn't designed to like replace the sales process, right? It's not taking away the ethos of your business and the human touch, but what it is doing is it's allocating the right space for business owners to meet with clients where they're not like, the worst thing is you're calling a trade and they're in a truck, right? They're on the highway. They don't have a notepad, and they're giving you like the shitty version of themselves because they're not able to fully focus, right? What we want to do is make sure that we, intake the customer adequately. We set the stage, we schedule some time so that you can meet with them and answer the questions, and your process can continue to shine. It's just scheduled so it's not as disruptive, right?
I was also talking about this. It's crazy that we're kind of into this conversation. So we're talking about like taking out jobs and stuff. Anyone that's listening right now, whether you have a son, daughter, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, you have to look at yourself and understand, what is my value? Worth is no longer about your internal morals and it's not just about that anymore. Your value becomes like literally what is in the fucking backpack. And I did a podcast prior to this with Eric from JobTread, also software, right? And he said directly, I'm going to probably look at their backpack and determine their value in my business. And so when you're trying to insert yourself in, the world, whether it's a product, whether it's a business, whether it's just a job, I think that if you're not adapting to technology, you are going to lose your job. Like you're going to lose your job. Your value becomes next to nothing. It doesn't matter if you have a PhD in anything. Nobody even gives a shit anymore. None of that stuff is not even going to matter. In the next 3 to 5 years, your PhD and whatever is going to be, do you have an AI PhD in XYZ? Can you solve really big problems using, buckets of technology?
Yeah. I think you've nailed something. I'll connect the dots in the CEO kind of peer groups here in town.
Mm-hmm.
There's a common conversation about hiring co-op students, those interns, and giving them exposure to the workplace, right? And people are concerned that AI is replacing developers, right? A lot of times dev teams are saying, hey, I can use Claude or, Cursor or whatever to replace junior devs. What we're finding though is there's a lot of junior devs that know how to use these tools, often even better than the senior guys, because it's a fresh program for them. So they learn how to code with these tools. And I think the same kind of percentage of the population that is going to be outstanding at their job is kind of being born with access to these remarkable tools. And they're learning how to leverage them to the best of their abilities, which is really interesting.
They can self-learn too. They can self-learn. Mm-hmm. Like my son, who was on the podcast, I brought him on. That was a unique conversation. But he's graduating this year, and actually at the time that this post will have already done, we'll have done something pretty cool together. And I'm not going to really talk about it right now on here. But what I do want to mention is that he was doing his English assignment, and it was an essay, and he got a 0 on it because they just said, and this has happened more than once, I used AI to do your essay. So they just prompted as a 0. But in Saskatchewan, there's a legislation that commands everyone to have, this is part of that, the liberal mentality where their second place is still acceptable. So we're going to take advantage of this little, liberal law where second place is still acceptable. But there's a legislation that allows anyone access to any tool to level the playing field. And this may exist further in other provinces. I'm not sure. So I presented that to the vice principal. I said, well, at the end of the day, my son, and she's great, very receptive to technology, understands that things are going on. But I think that there's a percentage of teachers that don't agree with what's going on. I think they're afraid, they're terrified, and they probably don't use AI. So their backpack is empty. And they become almost like it's like I have a homeless person teaching my kids how to prepare for the future. And so my son's teacher said, no, this is a 0. You shouldn't have done this. And I'm thinking, congratulate him. He didn't technically cheat. He used it to gather research, used the research to digest exactly how to layer everything together, and put forth a better product than anyone else did because he captured the information, more strategically. And I think that's an award, And so I mentioned this to the vice principal. I said, at the end of the day, he should be celebrated for what he did, not punished, because in society, he will be celebrated for achieving better results than being punished. Faster, more efficient, better product, you're hired. It's so frustrating. I told her, I was like, I've lost all confidence with the school system, with the way you guys are approaching this. And it's super frustrating because these kids aren't going to learn what they need to learn.
Hey, we've got an ad here. Make sure to pay attention. What's up, guys? Are you a contractor or business owner looking to take things to the next level? Well, I've got something for you. The Elite Builder Society is a community that helps contractors grow and scale. For $49 a month, you can have access to 20 group coaching calls. Look, you're probably wondering, how am I going to show up to 20 calls, Brandon? That's a lot. And yeah, it is a lot for $49 a month. But every call is recorded so you can watch it at your leisure. But you get the best experience when you're live on the call with us. Okay, at the end of every webinar, there will be a Q&A where you can ask the industry expert questions that you can implement into your business. Look, if you're ready to take things to the next level for $49 a month, go to ebsworks.com and register today. I look forward to seeing you inside the community.
I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but have you heard of this place in the States called Alpha School? Have you heard of that? Okay. Well, I don't know too much about it, but apparently it is a school that basically they don't look at situations like, the situation that my son experienced. They do look at those situations where they're going to teach you how to fill your backpack and make you super valuable, right? In a way that when you enter into the workforce, when you enter in society, it's not about, what you've learned in history. It's about what you're prepared for and how you can connect different products to different tools and prompt solutions. So you can be a solution oriented person. Because I think that's the differentiator that's really going to change this industry for people. They're going to lose jobs because their backpack is just shit, so to speak.
Do you think that when they figured out the printing press and books became, you could replicate books and you could have access to them.
Yeah.
The first guy that ran out to a library and got knowledge from a book and came back and wrote an essay from knowledge that he got from a book, he was penalized for being you got that from a book.
For sure he was.
Right?
Yeah.
And then in our era, I remember we would still have to do reports in school, go in and get an encyclopedia and figure out how the index works and all that shit, right? And now we grew through the internet era where you could just go to Google and get answers. And it's that made research a little bit easier. You had to document it. But AI is, it's another tool. I think it's going to be very important that everyone learns how to apply their own filter. You can't trust everything out of AI. You need to know it's when it hallucinates, you need to keep it in check, right? If you know how to apply that filter and harvest information faster, you become a lot more indispensable in the real world. So I think it's very important for people to start at least messing around with the tools to know what their limits are.
Yeah, we're getting a bit off topic with what you're doing, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of just trying to crack the understanding bubble. There's this, I don't know, it's you got to break through a fucking shell into people's head for them to understand that whether or not you adapt a product like Handshake into your business in a year or two from now just means that you're further away from all the other, learning data that is connected to it. And I think that's the part that a lot of people don't understand. When you're making a decision on your margin with your business or profitability or how to systemize, execution, you have to go through it one time at least, or you have to methodically think about it. And then you have to fail. And then you have to come back from that failure. You have to recreate a better outcome. And so what do you think is going to happen if you try to implement this 2 years from now or a year from now? You're not going to have any data. Even Chuck in the truck now, the guy that's a shitty contractor that doesn't want to answer his freaking phone, he's going to be better than you because he took on something like this. He's I'm annoyed by answering my phone. I want to talk to my clients. And now all of a sudden he's got a lead pipeline that he can't manage and maintain because it's overwhelming. But he also has data on how to communicate with his clients, whereas you don't, right? If you haven't implemented something like this, even if it's at a low percent, we've been using a product in the DMs right now, which is very similar to what you're talking about, and I'm excited because your product could replace what we're kind of using. But it's a lot of work to get it set up. We've been at it for probably 6 months. And it was not perfect. It's gotten really good. I'm not concerned about my DMs, and I'm sending out 300 to 500 messages a day, and I'm generating opportunities from those opportunities. And so if I wouldn't have done that, I would have had to do it later down the road, And so I think that's the really important thing is to understand the data that's going to come from you winning and losing with these products. You have to incorporate them at even a base level. Curious. So if somebody did turn Handshake on to their business, is there an on-off switch where they're I'm just going to go back to being Brandon answering the phone for my clients because I just want to take a break so we can filter through whatever problems we're maybe experiencing?
100%. It's even better than an on-off switch. The way the product works is we assign a local phone number where the agent lives. You don't change your business phone number. Everyone still calls the same line that's on your business cards on your website on the side of your truck, but you set up call forwarding. So you can say after hours, just send them directly to Julia. Or during the daytime, you can set up conditional call forwarding where you specify the amount of time. You can say, I want it to ring for 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds. And if nobody answers, then, send it off to AI. So it's if you look at the flow, if you think that you are better suited to answering those calls, you have first pass. But if you're unavailable, you're in the restroom or you're out on a job site or on another call, now your option is send them to voicemail. I don't think so, right? Now you dispatch it to AI. You can turn it off at any time as well. It's just simple call forwarding rules. Speaking of data, it's really neat too, because often teams, they'll migrate. Hey, send the call to a lead on site. You don't really have visibility as a business owner to how many calls they're missing. It's a blind, right? You're sending the calls, you're expecting that they answer, but they might be, hey, I'm on the job, I don't answer calls, and you don't know. With a product like Handshake, you get transcripts of every missed call when the AI engages. So you can kind of keep your team held to account to say, why are you missing these calls? What is the trend of that information? So Brandon, I know you're using an awesome product. Was it Phantom video? Yeah, it's incredible. If you record every single call and then you feed it to Claude or GPT, you can extract some incredible insights, right? So imagine you have a record of the last 2 years of calls on your system. You just, point GPT or whatever to it, and you're like, why am I missing calls? Or why am I missing business? You've been turning down business because you're outside of this service area. It's like, well, shit, maybe we pay somebody an extra $10 to drive out another 15 minutes and take on that new district, right? Or what's the number one reason why customers are churning, or whatever. If you have the data, you can query it. If you don't have the data, you're still living in the Stone Ages, right?
I'll give you an example of how powerful this product is. I've been coaching a large US-based remodeling franchise called Design Pro Remodeling out of the US. And that's the first time I've ever told anybody about that as well on here. So unique with that. But yeah, go check them out. But what I wanted to mention was when you talked about the Fathom connection. So we've actually got Fathom connected to Claude, and then all of our other assets really connected to Claude. And so what I did, while I was traveling, I had a short window of time. And so my objective with one of my calls, so had a meeting with my client, right, about their business. And we talked about designing basically like an avatar kind of strategy for employees. So it's kind of a weird, abnormal conversation, right? But because it was recorded, I had all the data. So we just freely spoke about it. And then I actually forgot about some of the points of interest that we talked about that were very particular, very specific. And the reason I'm talking about this is because just like Handshake and the data that's existing with all of these conversations, there are very particular elements of data that exist in the transcription of that you can actually formulate a product. And so what I did was I took this recording and I said, hey, I don't know where it was in there, but somewhere we talked about this. Can you find that? Oh, yeah, it does look like you talked about it like with this one sentence. And so then I took that one sentence and I cross-referenced that one sentence off of the entire manual of their business, which is like 2,000 pages, one sentence, cross-referenced off 2,000 pages, all in minutes. Then I requested it to basically build out like a questionnaire off of the 2,000 pages from the one sentence, right? And then it built out 6 questions that were cross-referenced off the 2,000 pages, prompted by the single sentence, and produced a incredible questionnaire that would have taken somebody an entire day to make sure that it was the voice of the brand and the voice of the product, and it aligned with the mission and the goal. And now I have a thread that combines all of this information. So let's just say hypothetically that somebody calls you, right? And do you have Handshake? Because it's all transcribed, correct? All the calls are transcribed. Brilliant. So let's say that somebody calls.
Even if they're not in English, they're transcribed, and you all the same, which is amazing.
Yeah, which is also crazy about technology. One of my posts actually went out the other day, and I think Meta had an error, but it pushed it in Mexican, in Spanish. So I was talking in Spanish. I was like, what is going on here?
Oh, man.
And it looked like me doing this, but I was in Spanish. Wild. So anyway, if somebody calls you, let's just say hypothetically, somebody's calling, about a window installation, because that could have some details in it that could be very particular, right? And they call and they start talking about, we've got this old house and we've got 75 windows and 3 doors and we got 6 screens, and they just go off like it's an older couple and they don't know that they're talking to AI, and they are just going off on all the things that they want, all transcribed. And you were busy, maybe on a ladder installing a window on another job site. And now you have all this data. So you see that this call came in and they're like inquiring about a window. Probably on the surface, it would be like a small little summarized version of the conversation where they're like, yeah, they want to do a whatever kind of project, right? And let's say that hypothetically you say, okay, give me the full transcription of this meeting, because I'm assuming you can get access to that as well. Yeah. So then you put that into Claude and you build out a proposal before you even go there, based on what they talk about, with the caveat that, this is just based on the conversation that you had with my agent, to give you kind of an idea. So you can actually field clients if you prompt questions. You get really good. This is where data comes in, right? Like let's say that you are using Handshake on day 1 and you don't have those prompted questions. You don't have that thought process. You don't have the mind capturing ability to understand, hey, I'm going to ask all these probing questions so that I can actually build out my proposal based on the conversation that it has with the agent. engine. I mean, technology is crazy only if you use it in a way that it's really going to grow your business. And the people that are listening to this right now, and if you're thinking that's crazy, I'm going to lose jobs like that. No, you're not.
Give you a crazy example. So I was repairing a retaining wall at my dad's property, and I'm looking for a very unique type of brick. So I called a local landscape company. Basically, as all of these calls go, it's like, yeah, here's the product we have. It tells me how to spell it. So I can go into my search engine, type the product in. And now I'm looking at that product and seeing all the vendors that carry it. And now I get to decide that, hey, there's 3 closer to me than the guy that I originally called. Had Julia handled that call, she would have said, yes, we have this product. Let me text you a link to the catalog on the website. And now it would be trapped. I'd be experiencing that product on that vendor's website, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm stuck in that ecosystem, and it's like, holy shit, it was faster and more helpful than a real human, right? Because the human's like, take a picture of what you got, go Google this product, and like, come on by. And it's like, I've got better things to do than drive an hour and like do your job for you, right?
It's wild. It honestly angers me when people just don't take advantage of this technology. And I get it. Like, out of 100 people, maybe 1 is doing it. Maybe 2 is doing it right now. But like, your efficiencies with your business as you implement tools like this and you really adapt. Like, I mean, my team is pretty small. We get a month's worth of work done in one day, and people can't compete with that. If a business is a service-based business or any business provides a service that has to capture information from their clients, open your mind and just understand, like, this is an opportunity for you to like really disrupt the market. When they talk about like the markets collapsing and all these things and all these publicly traded businesses are going, here and there, think about like the smaller service-based businesses. Let's say that in, I don't know, we're going to be going to Chilliwack. So let's say in Chilliwack, for example, because this is not aired yet, but let's say in Chilliwack there is, and I'm going to use the window thing again. Let's say that there's, actually I have the data. Let me just check this for a second. This is going to be crazy. I have 75 remodeling home builder companies in my data portal or in my email portal, 75 roughly in that area. And I have lots of different ones that are the most active with our product or our tools. Now, if only 10% of those 75 are actually implementing products like this, and they all of a sudden do the work of, 30 people, what does that mean for the other businesses? Because it's already happening for Tom, one of my contractors that I'm working with. He's 3 years into business and he's disrupted his whole community because his top of funnel capturing strategy and his execution and everything that he's doing in his business integrates with technology. So his team of 7 is actually a team of 70. And so his competitors are like trying to figure out, this guy's taking work from me. This is happening. How can all these things be happening? But what happened was everybody else just didn't do it. Everybody else just isn't doing the things necessary to really push their business to the true envelope, like just push it right to the limit. And I'm frustrated for those people that aren't doing it, because there's so many people that are really good businesses that are going to get swallowed up very quickly because they're not going to have a sniff about how to do this stuff. There is a lot of learning. Like, I'm learning every day, it's endless, never ending learning.
On that topic, I think one of the most exciting learnings is a lot of people, we've all been Claude here, GPT there, everyone's heard it, and you'd have to be like still stuck in a cave somewhere to not be using those tools right now. But the extent of those tools isn't just like a Google query where you go to it and you treat it like a contractor. And I think a lot of people still think that AI is like this tool that you go to when you need something and you get your thing and then you walk away and it's like it's on pause. I think the real revolution for AI is to give it a heartbeat, to say, you are now alive. And we hear the term agents, super agents, and a lot of those are just like a false nomenclature for the tool, because you create this agent and then you poke it every so often. You're like, run me this report. The really cool thing about, and I don't want to keep pitching it like our product, it's like the really exciting thing is giving AI like a heartbeat and say, I've given you parameters, go operate while I sleep, go operate while I do something different. And you miss a call and you don't have to be like, oh, I got a notification, let me manually move it. It automatically connects and it works. So in my world, like, I have reporting that runs daily that analyzes every single conversation that was had with a customer, all of our sales data, all of our marketing data, and it compiles it all to the tune of like knowing if a word was spoken between sales and a client that was positive or negative, and it just compiles it daily for me, right? Or if anyone here is familiar with like the SHRED claim, scientific research and development, when you do your tax filing, you can claim that you were pushing forward the boundaries of like technical uncertainties and all this crap. These processes tend to take weeks of time with like, big name organizations to help you through it. They sit down, they interview your entire engineering team. They, extract what did you work on? Does it qualify for this program or not? I built it out with Codex. It said, here's access to our GitHub. Analyze over like a gigabyte of text files, similar to the project you were talking about.
Yeah.
Find me all the technical uncertainties, all the internal team communication that substantiates those. So we have basically our time logs accounted for, done. And that is like super powerful, but it's still the wrong way of doing it. The right way to do it would be have an agent that oversees in real time. And anytime we're having a conversation about something, it's like, tell me more about that, because that smells like the right product for next year's claim, right?
Right.
So
giving it foresight. We're literally talking about this right now, which is crazy that you brought it up.
So the way I would ask the listeners to think about it, it's like, you have these great tools. Can you automate them and turn them into an agent? Great. Can you keep that agent alive and working for you in the background, right? Mm-hmm. So imagine you have your CRM. Doesn't matter what CRM you use, but if you could connect that to Claude, you can go to Claude and say, hey, give me a list of top 10 customers that you think, I should reach out to today and why. Or you can give it a reason. It's like, it rained a lot, right? Maybe for whatever parameters, it'll go through, it'll give you a list. But imagine you had that agent working for you on a daily basis and analyzing like stock market performance, weather events, the economy, sales of wheelbarrows at Home Depot, if that data is available somewhere, right? Bringing that all together and saying, you should be reaching out to these 4 past clients this week, and here's why. And then better yet, if it drafts the messages for you, you just review them and away you go.
This is a great topic, and this is something that a lot of people need to be listening to. Talking about data, okay? And I'm not going to try to disclose too much, but I was in the process of helping my girlfriend. We're just dotting the I's, crossing it all, helping her sell her business. And so we should be done by the end of this month. So we're in May, it'll be done by the end of June. And so in that, there's so much data, existing data, that I was like, okay, well, we want to capture as much of this data as possible right now so that we can get a clear understanding of like all your opportunities that exist. And I gave like a couple tasks to her admin because they didn't have the understanding on how to, develop the prompts and organize the information. They assumed it to take days to do that stuff. We did in literally minutes. And what we were able to capture in minutes was every projection over the next 5 years of what monthly, daily, yearly, annually, what kind of revenue looks like, what's the drop off, what's the influx, literally everything captured in gigabytes of information, scanned in minutes and returned to us. Now, what you're talking about by giving it a live heartbeat, we started this Claude group. So anybody that's listening to this, you can join our community. It's $49 a month, gets you access to group presentations like Toby did a presentation inside the community. We got him coming back. I don't know when you're scheduled for your next one, but Toby did a presentation. We do these sales calls. And then we started this AI group. And so this AI group was another $97. So $49 a month and then $97. It's getting confusing, and it's going to change at some point because we have a grand master plan, which encapsulates this heartbeat that you're talking about. So we're training the people in our community on how to build a living dashboard that essentially captures all your lead funnel, gives you data on all your lead funnel, daily updates. Instead of you sifting the data, you're looking at the daily numbers, right? You're looking at one line of information that really drives your business. And then you're looking at your margin. And then you're looking at your lead pipeline. You're looking at your client success. You're looking at all these different things. If you wake up every day and you don't have to search through your emails, because you don't have to worry about that shit anymore. Like we're really close, if not there already. We don't have to worry about our inbox. I wouldn't give AI full control. Like I'd love to have that disconnect. So like having a product like Handshake in there and disconnecting so that it doesn't go completely rogue and change all my bank accounts and do all these other things. But like we're really close to being able to have a single line telling us the health and power of our business today, tomorrow, a week from today, a month from today, a year from today. And then we're close to a position where we can ask it, what do I have to do to change XYZ? What do I have to do this? There's never been a time where you can build a business so freaking powerful. Like it's just I have goosebumps with this right now because the reason I'm so like passionate about is because I've built so many businesses that have also failed, and they failed because we didn't have access to capturing this type of information in the way that we needed it to generate the decision to move forward. If
you're not measuring it, you're flying blind. Right. And the irony is like, we're excited because we're like, go look at these data points and tell me your analysis. And we're like, oh my God, like that would have taken me hours. But imagine you gave it free reign to say, here are all the systems I'm using. help me run a more efficient business. And you give it a little bit of like that AI creativity, be like, hey, I checked these 3 data sources, and here's a unique opportunity that you would have never looked for. That becomes super powerful, right? So it's like you can yell at your accountant and say, hey, like, tell me the forecast for the next 3 months. You could plug Claude into GP or into QuickBooks or whatever product you might be using and get similar output. But imagine it gave you that insight 6 months before you're like, hey, there's a real cool way I can like rebalance the business or make some material investments, or, if it's working for you, that becomes really exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing that, like, you and I both are at this level. Like my daughter's 14, my son's 18. My son's getting into welding for now, and his goal is to generate as much wealth as possible and invest in real estate and whatever else he can, which I think is still always will be a good investment. But like talking about the backpack, all those things that I just talked about, that sounds very complex, right? Because it is. And if you're learning on day one how to do all that stuff, you will never be able to do it. You will never be able to do it. You'll be swallowed up. It's going to move so quick that you don't have the capability. We're in the midst right now of building this little learning tool, which I'm not going to really talk about right now. But what I learned through this speed to market is that almost every domain is gone. Literally almost every domain is gone. Now let's consider a domain a property. Okay, it's like a house. It's like a commercial business. So it's just a door, right? And you could buy those doors for $1. But somebody went and used technology to buy all the doors, bought the world's doors for any industry. AI doors, all gone. Technology, all gone. Like, you can create a business, it could be BrandonFuchs.ca, or you could create those probably pretty easily. But when you're building a specific business like Handshake, or, maybe the on-site podcast or whatever it might be, a lot of these very particular doors, so to speak, are being bought. So technology is moving fast enough that the real estate to work in is almost gone. And in order for you to get some of that real estate, you have to buy it. So imagine if you're trying to build a business behind all of this. And what I've been trying to tell my kids is like, this world is very complex. And if you're not the person helping somebody build those resources that we just talked about, your value becomes like very quickly diminished. Like, I think Meta just brought on a bunch of like tech people, and they're getting paid like millions of dollars. Like I think somebody just got signed for like $1 billion, like some person.
Yeah, their top AI. This is worse than not worse, higher pay than your top performing athletes. They get signed for multi-year contracts, and there's only like a handful of these top tier AI development like engineers. So they have to they have to sign them on. If you're chasing $1 trillion opportunities, you have to spend in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, these guys are just getting like, it is top tier athletes, and that's what it comes down to. You don't even need to go to school necessarily. You can self learn that stuff yourself. It comes down to how good can you prompt it. Like, obviously these software developers have a clearer understanding of further futuristic ideologies of some of that stuff, and that's what makes them so valuable. But like, you could be that person.
Thing about AI as well, it's like, it's not too late to get into learning how to use these tools. And the excuse of I don't know how does not exist, because even if you do not know how, you go and you tell the AI tool of your choice, I don't know how to do this. Walk me through step by step. I'm stuck. Take a screenshot. Tell it where you're at. And you don't have to be embarrassed. This isn't like having a friend look at you and be like, I don't know how to silence my iPhone, and you feel like an idiot. The AI is not going to judge you, right? You could be like, show me how to configure my back to websites, right? My DNS to point to this website provider because I built a website with AI. You don't need to be an engineer to figure it out. You just give it the instructions and it does it. Now back to picking your battles, right? It's like, do you really want to be fucking around with rerouting DNS records and building your own website? Or do you want to pay some kid, $200 to get it done? And you focus on, building an addition on somebody's house and making the real money, right?
What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying this episode of the On-Site Podcast. So here's the deal. We want to grow this show, and we need your help. It's simple. Pay the tax, share the show. That's it. Let's get back into it.
Okay, currently May 26th. It's going to air on July 13th. I talked about this in the last call. Technology will be different when this airs than what it is right now.
Oh my God, yes.
And that's the crazy part. It is moving that quick, and that's why we created that AI group, so that people would have access to that kind of information every week. We are learning it just as quick as so many other people. So we have to teach it as we learn it. And sometimes, unfortunately, but we understand what the shining star is, like what's the ultimate goal, which is to create that heartbeat for the business, and to wake up and instead of checking your bank account or checking your inbox or checking your text messages, you literally just go to your dashboard and you can see your business. And I think products like Handshake give us that top of funnel capture, and then products like JobTread organize and distribute project software on site. I think products like Go High Level help communicate with your customers, integrate with JobTread or integrate with Handshake and JobTread. I think that Claude does a great job of connecting a lot of these other assets. But then there's all these other tools and all these other pieces of technology that really can really transform and shape your business. And so I know that Handshake is one part of it. I think it's a really important part of it. And I am angry at everyone that is listening that doesn't seriously consider taking these products into their business. And this is a while ago. And I'm going to get you to plug a Handshake here right away. But I want to kind of set the stage. So we had Sean Getty, who is a real estate professional. He built one of the largest, fastest growing real estate brokerages in Calgary. I think he's like number 2, and then moved around all about AI, right? He did a presentation with us in our community, and he talked about like this dream that you have for your family. He's like, let's talk about the dream. Like, Toby, you have a young family, and that maybe their dream is to go to Paris or go to Italy or go to Disney and some just outlandish thing, right? That might be their dream, whatever their dream might be. And so you're building a business right now, and you've already built a business, sold the business, you're successful, and probably can fulfill the dream pretty easily. But there are a lot of people that have dreams that they don't fulfill. There's a lot of people that have families that they don't provide for. There's a lot of people that have these things that they want to give to their people, but they never do the things that they need to do in order to give the things to the family. And so what I took from that message from Sean was that we can always understand. I think it's really important for us to understand, all of these moments that we want to give to our important people in life. But then we have to look at ourselves and say, are we doing what needs to be done in order for that actually to happen? And so when we have a tool like this, okay, when we have technology like this, I want you to seriously look at yourself and say, well, somebody just gave me an opportunity to implement a tool that helps me take my family to Disney, to Paris, to wherever it may be, to give them this outlandish, maybe you want to pay off your family's mortgage. Maybe you want to do something crazy that you're like, it would never happen, but it could happen. It really could, and the difference is you don't have the balls to do what needs to be done. And so you have an opportunity right now to really consider looking at your business and your family. And I want you, before you even think about looking at this link or connecting with Toby, I want you to say to yourself that I'm going to give my family what they deserve. Because the alternative is I'm going to go talk to my family and say I'm too fucking lazy to do what needs to be done. So you guys can't do this. I had this dream for you guys. I wanted to take you to do XYZ. But unfortunately, my ego and my inability to actually take action stopped me from doing it. So I'm so sorry. We'll never be able to get to experience this moment in time because of me, right? That is the true harsh reality that so many people are ignorant to understand. And when I first got into coaching, honestly, I thought there's over 600,000 people scrape data from AI, helped me gather data. There's over 600,000 people that could use a service like this, could use a service like Handshake. But there's a small portion of them that are actually doing it. And the other portion, they're going home to their kids tonight to tell them that they don't want to give them that trip to Disney, or they don't want to do this because they're too incompetent or too egotistical or whatever it might be. So don't be that person. Like, seriously, don't be that person. Give your family the success they deserve, because when you're given an opportunity right now, if you're listening to this podcast, you got to this whole point, you got to this point right now, you're listening to this podcast, right? And you're like, this is some cool shit. I'm interested, but I don't think I'm ready. That's okay. Start, right? Because if you don't fucking start, that experience will never happen. Like the guy who got brought on by Meta, getting paid billions of dollars to be a guy, his backpack is the size of Texas. Like, what he's capable of doing, that's why he got paid billions of dollars to show up. So if you got nothing in your backpack, put a Handshake in your backpack. That's a starting point. Go ahead.
I'll jump in and kind of anti-sell for a little bit, right? AI is not a checkbox. Don't be bullied. I'm going to anti-sell both of us here for a second. Don't be bullied to be like, oh my God, the world is fast. I'm not using AI. I'm going to rush out and buy some random product.
Yeah.
Check. I'm done. I've got AI in my backpack. The world's better. I think the best thing to do is get involved in a community, a peer group, what you're offering, Brandon, and meet other peers. Talk to them before you spend a nickel on any software or AI product. Talk to people and be like, did you try that? What did you think? If they say it's shit, don't buy it. Learn from other people's mistakes. If you're part of a community, if everybody tries one different thing, they'll all report back. Don't be fearful. Just because everyone's kind of in a similar industry, you're not competing. You're learning from best practices. And the spaces, you're kind of like, I don't want to get too much on the physics here, but like you're moving as a mass. You don't want to be the useless like laminar flow stuck on the sidewalls, not moving through. If you're moving with the group, you'll always be, you don't need to be at the breaking edge, but be ahead of your competition in, as part of that group. So get involved in the peer group, ask people questions. Failure is incredible. Learn what failed for other people and then avoid that like the plague. Or if you think you can implement it better than they did, take a risk, figure it out, and bring something new to the group. But just kind of close off there. It's not a checkbox. There's not gonna be a singular product where you're like, I've done this. It's gonna be a transition. And the last transition might have been like 20 years. People still have shitty websites, right? And we're still figuring out how to get them mobile optimized. Like when I hear that, I want to bang my head against the wall. that world's done. People are now going to Claude and they're getting answers on who to call, right? How do you partake in that? And how do you answer their queries? And how do you make your business more efficient? Figure out what is the opportunity and the problem I want to solve in my business. If you're just bringing on cost basis and buying things as a check mark, don't do it. Get involved in a group, figure out where you can unlock efficiency, and then iterate, because the world's changing. So
and I mean, it's just taking reps. Like take reps. Like I remember starting my first business, I paid $11,000 for my website for my first business. I couldn't freaking believe it. I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. People I think are still selling those websites for like that much money. Crazy part is me and my admin, we built 7 websites in an hour and have them all live and active the other day. And they update daily with changes, which is crazy. So, they always look a little bit different every day based on the season of that situation, which we have the ability of doing. So I think the biggest thing is like, let's start with a product, whatever it might be. If you don't have Claude or ChatGPT or any of these things, just download it and start talking to it. Like, you talk to it. Like, think about it like this. Let's say that hypothetically you wanted to, be just a chiseled athlete, figure, whatever it might be. You have to put reps in. It's not just going to happen overnight. And that's the biggest thing that I want people to understand. So now, Toby.
Yeah, but back to your, I love analogies. So I'm just going to extend it.
Yeah.
If you want to be chiseled, where do you start? Are you just going to go lift rocks like a barbarian and like make up your own moves? Or are you going to kind of like join a community, go to the gym and be like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to lift it. How many reps? He looks jacked. It's working for him. What's your trick? Oh, you're also eating protein. Cool. That's where you get the community, right? Where it's like,
exactly.
This Claude alone in isolation, if you don't give it the data, is useless, right? Not use it, but like you got to know how to use it, what tools to feed it, what info, what data. And I think you can accelerate like nobody's business if you're part of a community, especially one that's kind of already focused on a specific business niche, if you may.
When you're listening to this right now, you're going to see that we are if you go into my bio, you'll see that there is a prompt to join our Claude plus EBS group. It's going to have a cost offer now because we've already produced 8 to 10 previous lessons on how to implement this. We go right from like how to upload Claude to your desktop to how to turn on, connectors, how to connect it to different products, how to then connect those different products to different products as well, and how to link different tools back and forth. So if you want to join that group is just going to continue to go up every month. It goes up $100 every month for now because we produce more information for you. So if you want to join my group, I will literally do everything I can to help you be the most successful version of yourself. Finding people like Toby and other resources like that will help you build a dashboard of the heart of your business. Imagine if you could understand like what's going on in your body, right? Like we don't really know. We don't know what's going on in our body, but we have the capability of understanding what's going on in our business. We could literally have everything out on a table and say, oh, you mean I have to drink 1 more glass of water every day and I'll live 3 or 4 or 5 more years? You mean I have to use this type of salt and I can live this much longer? Or, oh, I have to, eat this much protein per day. And if I increased it by just 1 more, ounce or 2 more ounces, it would give me 3 or 4 or 5 more years of life. Like that's the data that we have access to. We have the craziest access to some of the most wild shit And right now you have an option to join Handshake. So Toby, where's the best place for people to test this product out? Because we haven't gone through that yet, and you can go to the website and you can test it out for free, I believe.
Yeah, so you go right to the website. It's .app, not .com, so whatever the link says there. And no obligation, just take your business website, put it in there. We're going to do a bunch of crazy work in the background, and you'll be able to meet an agent that can talk as if they're part of your team. And then if you want to go live, we put you on a trial. You get a phone number, and then you just talk to Julia and you make her better. We've got a little dashboard you can go in and give her instructions. Be like, hey, in this situation, do this. In that situation, do that. It's like a person. You tell her exactly what you need done. To the point of like sales inquiries, send it to Chad, right? If anyone's asking about finance, send it to Barb. Things like that. And then you walk away and she triages calls. It's kind of that magical experience. It's a lot of fun.
I love it, man. I love it. Cool. And on Instagram, where can they follow you?
Handshake.pro.
There we go. Cool. We'll just bring that website back up. And just for anyone that's listening, you're going to want to go to www.handshake.app. Figure it out. If it doesn't look like his shirt, okay, show us the shirt. Doesn't look like his shirt, you're at the wrong place. Because there is so much noise out there right now. And that's the thing that I want people to understand. It's like there's just a crazy amount of noise. I'm going to try to use this other analogy before we'll wrap this up here. So my son played pretty high level hockey growing up, and when he was playing when he was younger, everyone would say that the world's a big place. The world's a big place. Becoming pro is unrealistic, and the world is a big place, right? And becoming pro is not unrealistic. What I'm getting at is that, like, although we may think that the world is a big place and that achieving a great audacious goal is audacious and unrealistic, it's really not. You could become that guy that got paid billions of dollars by Meta to come do some shit for them easily tomorrow. Like anyone listening, you could change your life tomorrow. We have the tools and the resources accessible to us right now to make us the most powerful version of ourselves. I literally wake up feeling like fucking a superhero some days. Like what we're capable of doing is just outlandish. And the reason I talked about my son was because a lot of his friends, as time progressed, a lot of them became very high level, like some number one draft picks, right? They became very accessible to the world. The world is not as big as you think it is. It's actually a lot smaller. And if you start differentiating yourself with other people and you start identifying that I am not in this bucket of shit at the bottom, I'm in the middle or I'm in the mid, and I'm going to get to the top. When you get to the top of this bucket of cream of the crop, mindset, technology, and resource, there's not as many people. And because also what happens is it gets really hard. It gets even harder as you get closer to your victory. And you're going to be getting discouraged along the way every day to fail. And you can choose not to, but when you have tools like this, failure becomes a lot harder. And so I highly encourage you to really seriously consider, using Handshake as a tool. And I've never, ever went so hard on promoting any product in here, just to be clear.
Appreciate it.
I just don't want to see people fail. I've learned in this industry that even though I say, hey, you guys should go do this, most people aren't going to do it. Like 1% of people maybe are going to do it. I'm trying to get like 10% of captured audience right now to actually understand the value of the opportunity, because, man, I just don't want to see people struggle. I really want to see people give their families those magical trips that they've been dreaming of for so long. And it's so obtainable.
I think back to those analogies, it's like either like an investment psychology or a weight loss journey, whatever people can relate to. I don't subscribe to like this in 30 days, your life's changed craziness. I do subscribe to like small continuous change. It's like if I could, change one thing a day, I'm not gonna eat the cupcake, but I'll put the $2 I was going to spend to the cupcake and I'll buy some stock, right? And you do that and you compound over time. And then tomorrow you do another little change. And you keep figuring out, asking yourself, what is the small change I'm going to implement in my business, right? Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to reinvent overnight. Small compounding changes pay huge dividends if you look back over, the spectrum of time in years.
Atomic Habits. That's basically the nuts and bolts of one of my favorite books by James Clear, which is Atomic Habits. 1%. Yeah, 1% increase or 1% improvement every day. I was in my worst headspace of life when that book landed on my desk, And I remember the part where he got hit. He said, "I got hit in the head with a baseball bat." And I was actually, I remember like specifically where I was in that moment. And from that moment on, which is, I don't know, probably 6 years ago, I've just always looked at life almost delusionally optimistic, where it's like, I'm going to do everything I fucking can in one day, and I'm going to see what tomorrow looks like.
Yep.
And I'm going to continue to compound these victories. And so it isn't a 30-day subscription. It's not a 90-day subscription. Yep. This is a life subscription. And
even if, I'll cut you off here, Brandon, or interrupt, but even if you try things and they fail, you now have more knowledge than you did the day before when you were like too scared to try. So try a bunch of shit, right? Some will give you benefits and some won't. And then you live and you learn and you retool. I think failure is part of that journey. So
now look at, like, I failed along, like, I mean, I don't consider any failure. I don't even consider really failure. I just consider data. But like, this has been probably my favorite podcast. And I'm sorry to every other guest that I've had on, but this is probably one of my favorite podcasts because technology has changed my life. Like, it's just changed my ability, and the fact that I get to sit across from somebody that is also, so passionate about it, and also is actually building a tool that actually can change people's lives. It's super exciting. And I feel like this is one of my favorite. It's the longest. This is my longest podcast, I think, to date. Yeah.
Inefficient. We can have AI summarize it and give people the Coles notes at the end.
I mean, you know what? I like it like this. I like just real talk, real conversation, and you can tell that, it's both genuine. So anyway, I don't want to bore you guys. If you guys are listening to this and you haven't joined yet, you haven't opted in with Handshake, remember, go to www.handshake.app, okay, right there, to register or to try it out. Let me know your feedback on the product, and great conversation. Anything you want to share with listeners before we wrap this thing up?
Just kind of get something off my chest, and like the feeling of the space moving quickly. Don't feel alone. Like, despite being where we are, the product that we're building, it's a roller coaster ride. Things are changing every day, and the best you can do is hold on. So that's it. Just to kind of ease that pain, right? Because sometimes we feel like we're so far behind that the boat's left, hasn't left yet. So
no, and honestly, most people aren't doing half these things. So consider yourself, if you're part of that group, you're probably going to be the one that's going to disrupt the industry. Start implementing this stuff. Again, really appreciate the conversation, dude.
Thanks for having me.
I want to have you back on. I don't know when, like 3 to 6 months from now, because I just feel like I want to learn more about, how you guys have evolved. I think top of funnel is the hardest part of your business. You can do all kinds of things to market your business, but then capturing all that information and organizing all these little moving parts is like, it's like a freaking piano with like 12,000 tentacles on it. And you're trying to really orchestrate all of them to make this beautiful, outcome, which is success. And I feel like you've tackled one of the hardest parts of the industry. And I'm thankful that you have, because if not you, then someone would. That's the reality. Somebody else is always going to come for whatever it is that we're not willing to do. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. I appreciate you, Toby. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes this episode of the On-Site Podcast. Remember, if you enjoyed this episode, please pay the tax, share the show. Guys, if you want to be a part of the Elite Builder Society, all you got to do is pay $49 a month. That's it. $49 a month. You get 20 group coaching calls every month. Okay? Go to ebsworks.com and register today. If you enjoyed the show, please pay the tax and share the show.